I support the Common Core learning standards. It's a set of learning standards that are here to provide our students. The goal is to provide them with career and college-ready standards. So if they go into the workplace or the college level, they'll be ready and they'll have all the necessary skills that they'll need. The Common Core standards do require a lot of rigor, and that's the word that we're looking at this time. It used to be complexity, now it's rigor. And that's good, because when I came out of high school, I didn't know how to write a research paper. And now seeing second graders write a research paper and define the opinion and the topic and the research behind it is amazing, because I didn't start that until my last year of high school. But when we adopt the Common Core standards, it's all about assuring and making sure our teachers, our parents, and our students have the necessary resources to be successful in the Common Core standards. And that starts at the community level. That starts with opening up tutoring programs. That starts with getting volunteers in the school system. That starts with professional development for our teachers to make sure they are okay with what they're teaching. So as I say, I do support the Common Core.
I also support the Common Core. For years, we've always heard about the curriculum or the standards not being rigorous for our children, and they're not prepared when they go to college. I have a kid right now who's a sophomore in college. I'm seeing some of that. She didn't get to experience some of the rigor that is now being looked at and started in our school system. One of the other benefits of the Common Core is when we get kids who are moving from state to state, we have a unified Common Core curriculum. It's a lot easier for the kids to come into another school state and they can understand and they pick up where they left off more so. So that's a perk also to the Common Core. Unfortunately, there's a lot of in public. It's politically, there's a lot of politicalness to this Common Core, and there's sides being played. And some of that it has to do with the fact that there seems to be some uncertainty, unsureness as far as the Common Core. I think we need to educate the community about what the Common Core is all about. I mean, we would have a nice little 10 things parents need to know about the Common Core. And my question is, I wonder how many actually have read this. But if they're not going to read it, we have to go to them and explain to them the 10 things to understand about the Common Core. So there's one piece. The other thing I'll note about the Common Core is it's a set of standards, but those set of standards are going to assure quality and consistency in a child's education, regardless of where they live. Just like any other tool that's provided in the classroom for classroom teachers, the way they use the tool, the way the teachers are going to use the tool will determine whether those standards are effective or not. Okay? So a teacher who may not be currently performing up to par will not magically improve student success because their state has adopted these standards. It all goes back to the classroom teachers and their ability to teach that standard.
I'm not in education, so I've had to educate myself about the Common Core, so I'm going to take a stab at this. My understanding is that it does increase the rigor across the country. State by state, not every state has adopted it. There is federal money attached to it, which I think was the inducement for some states, but some states don't like the federal government telling you what to do. Anyhow, those that have signed on board, and Maryland is one of them, there's increased rigor and their expectations, and they're the same expectations in Maryland as they would be in Minnesota, for example. And they're set so that kids, when they come out of high school, they're either ready to go to college or to find success in the workplace. One of the things that I think is advantageous about having the Common Core is I would like to think that a high school diploma in Maryland meant the same thing as a high school diploma in Montana, that one school system is not considered better than another. But because there is a certain commonness, there is also a certain roteness to it, the fact that they set the benchmarks that on week 1 of school, this is what you're supposed to be teaching. On week 2, this is where you should be. I worry sometimes, and I've been assured that it's going to be okay, but that it doesn't allow for a lot of flexibility in the classroom. I would hope that the teachers are given a little bit of freedom for the methodology to get to where they're supposed to do. I did talk to some teachers this week who did support Common Core, and one of the things they told me about it, which makes me very happy, is that reading and writing are required across every subject area, whether it's math, PE, art, or whatever. You've got to be able to read and you've got to be able to write. As someone who makes their living by writing, I can tell you if you can write, you can do anything. So I am hopeful because of that.
I also support the Common Core, although I don't think it's the panacea that's going to cure everything that's wrong with American schools. There's a lot of misconception and public misunderstanding, as they've said, about the Common Core. It was developed by the National Association of Governors and the Council of Chief State School Officers, and it's actually been in the making for many, many years. I worked in the 1980s on a national teacher education project, and they were really beginning to develop it even then. We do need higher standards and more uniform standards across the 50 states. We do need high school graduates to be college or career ready. And increasingly for this century, we need students whose high school diploma means something and means that they can compete with people from across the world. I have a son who's a mathematician, and they can't hire enough mathematicians. I mean, he gets calls from headhunters almost every week. In this last recession, there have actually been many, many jobs that have gone unfilled by Americans because we do not have these high standards. We do need to provide plenty of training for teachers to implement the core curriculum, however, and I think that's a big challenge. It's not going to be something that is perfect right away.
I'm ambivalent about the Common Core. In terms of voting on the school board, I'm on record as having supported Kent County's embrace of the Common Core. Conceptually, who can really be against high standards and rigor? Those are sensible things. However, the implementation of Common Core, as with the implementation of many good ideas in education, brings with it more top-down control, less freedom and autonomy for teachers, and more attempt to spell out in some sort of bullet form every single thing that must be taught in every single lesson, in every single classroom, every single day, and I hate that. I'm a teacher, and I know in what kind of environment teachers thrive. They thrive when they know the goals and embrace the goals, when there's accountability, and then when there's freedom for the individual teacher to be creative and imaginative and take chances. We need to make sure those things stay in our schools even as we embrace the Common Core. And I think that's what a local school board can do. Push back against some of the bureaucratic forces that want endless reports, endless reassurance, endless dotting of the I's and crossing of the T's. I'll give you an example. Kids learn in different ways, right, when it comes to arithmetic. All right, so that's a good recognition. Kids have different ways of solving math problems. So it's a sensible idea that teachers take cognizance of different ways to teach kids arithmetic. That's fine so far. But then the natural bureaucratic impulse is, let's make a list of every single way that we solve math problems, and let's make sure that the teachers teach every single way to the students and require the students to learn every single different way. Well, that's insanity, right? It's one thing to help teachers learn the different ways kids learn. That's great. And boy, and if you've sat with your kid who's frustrated and he or she had his or her own way to solve the problem, that's great. But to somehow insist, let's have everybody do everything, it's out of control. And I think that's the risk Common Core that a strong school board could push back against.
Everybody has answered Common Core. I am in support of Common Core. I have to agree with what everybody on the panel prior to me has said. I think our future with our kids, they need to have a rigorous type of classroom and learning to go into the future, to be prepared for what they have to face, whether they're going to be at the college level or a workforce level. And Common Core, or as Maryland calls it Maryland College and Career Ready Standards. Standards have been in education for a long time. These standards are just much more rigorous. And to me, to have a third grader in Maryland sort of learning the same as what a third grader in Maine is learning, I think is a good thing. And that way we all are on the same playing field. All these kids are coming out of school on the same playing field, and as somebody already said, a diploma from Maryland means the same as a diploma from Maine. And a child that's getting an A in one class in one state, that A would mean the same in another state. And I just see that as just the way for education to be headed. We have to prepare our kids for the future. The future of the world's changing every day. And if we don't prepare them with a rigorous type of education, then we're letting them down.